All right, we got an interesting video here from Pierre who says that he wants to end poverty. I think we all like the idea of that. So Mark Nixon posted this clip. It says Pierre says he'll end poverty in Canada. How? Crush inflation, scrap the industrial carbon tax, cut taxes, axe government red tape. In other words, stop strangling the economy. How anyone could vote against this blows my mind. Yeah, me too, Mark. By the way, go give Mark Nixon a follow on YouTube and X. He's got some great content. He's a good man. Now, we're going to get into this video, but before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel. I appreciate you guys doing that for me so much. So without further ado, let's get into this, and then we'll talk about it.
Coming back to the budget, lowering taxes is great for people who pay taxes, and that's often middle and higher income. Thinking about the kind of people who'd use this food bank, lower income Canadians who may not benefit from lower taxes in a big way, are there some other affordability measures that a conservative government or that Conservatives might advocate now, specifically aimed at the folks who might use this place?
Yes, absolutely. I want to cut the worst, most immoral tax of all, the tax that targets the poorest people the most, and that is the inflation tax. Inflation happens when governments print money and bid up the cost of everything people buy. It is proven beyond any doubt that the poorest people suffer the most as a result of inflation because they do not have assets that insulate them from the rising cost of living. The inflation tax, the liberal inflation tax, takes from the poor and gives to the rich. It takes from the have-nots and gives to the have-yachts. So when the reason why the food bank use has gone up by over 100% during the massive expansion of liberal government spending and deficits is because the inflation that spending has caused has landed on the shoulders of single moms and seniors and others who can't pay their bills. So when we talk about capping liberal deficits, it's not to please accountants who are looking at spreadsheets. It's to stop inflation so that the hardworking, the working poor, the people who get out of bed every day and work hard for not a lot of money will at least preserve the purchasing power of their dollar. Also, let's get rid of the industrial carbon tax, which again, driving up energy costs will drive up the cost of living on the poorest people. We can't allow that. Our working poor in this country cannot afford more expensive energy. If you want to defeat poverty, there's the two best ways to do it is to have strong money that buys affordable food, homes, and fuel, and abundant, affordable energy for all. That's how we're going to make this a poverty-free nation.
Yeah, and of course, there's more to it than that. You also need to stimulate the economy with having good-paying jobs. Wages have been stagnant for about 20 years, roughly. But again, Pierre has also broken that down before, too. He says we should have so many jobs here that, it could be easy to find a job. Where right now, it's like you have an employer or a potential employer. They have 10 openings. They get 100 resumes. 90 people are walking away disappointed. If you are one of the people they are thinking about hiring and you say, hey, instead of paying me $17, can we negotiate the wage? They'll say, there's the door right behind you, sir or ma'am, because if you won't do it, we just turned down 90 other people. One of them will take the job for $17 an hour. You have no leverage. Where if a company is desperately trying to find employees, well, the only way they could get them if you had proper math in terms of having slightly more jobs than there are people, well, that company is going to have to throw out some money to get people to come work for them instead. Now, next thing you know, you're making $20, $21, $22 an hour. If the cost of living is going to keep rising and wages are going to continue to be stagnant, the math doesn't add up in a positive way for the middle class, and that's what we've been seeing, especially in the last 10 years. And it needs to stop. We need to cap immigration, have some remigration, not all remigration. Make it so that companies and corporations want to come here. There'll be so many jobs and just the right amount of people for us to have leverage. I think they should also teach negotiation in school. That's for a whole nother conversation. But what Pierre wants to do with this country is what the country needs. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been fooled into thinking that markcarney is what the country needs. just like they were fooled 10 years ago, and again in 2019, and again in 2021, that Trudeau was the right guy. They've been wrong 3 times in a row. Well, you can make that 4 times in a row because Mark Carney isn't here to do anything good for us. He's here to get rich. He's here to make policies that help his investments. That's what he's going to do. That's why he dropped all the counter tariffs on the United States. Where do you think his investments are? Right? He ain't here for you. He ain't here for me. Mark Carney is here for Mark Carney and only Mark Carney. And until more and more people start to realize this, we're not going to get the change that we want. However, now that the budget has been tabled, you're going to see other parties get upset about this and potentially not vote or abstain, which means the vote will pass. But then Mark Carney's not going to have that much time before the NDP gets a new leader, before people say, okay, man, you've had a year. Nothing's getting better. You said that things would get better under record-breaking speeds. What's going on here? People are going to start shifting back to the NDP, back to the Conservatives. And the Conservatives, the Bloc, and the NDP currently would have enough votes to force a vote of non-confidence, heading us back to an election at the right time, instead of being held hostage by Jagmeet Singh, the former leader of the NDP. So we're going to see what happens here. It's going to be a very interesting few months ahead here. But just keep the faith. Have hope. Without hope and faith, you don't really have anything else. So we just got to keep fighting. Just hold the line. And we'll see what happens in the next few months.